Here's what's coming up on your horizon. Well, it's the 1st of February, and that means a new legislative session here in Oklahoma. Today, we look at some of the issues that lawmakers will be debating, from the money they spend to the taxes they take in. We'll hear from Oklahoma's Secretary of Education about a novel new approach to school funding.
Our focus is making sure that every Oklahoman has a job and every company has a workforce, and we know that today we have this huge skills gap.
And we'll look at a couple of health issues lawmakers will be addressing: e-cigarettes and raw milk straight from the dairy. Stay with us for Oklahoma Horizon.
Oklahoma Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education.
Oklahoma's investment in career tech provides more than nationally recognized technology education and training. It produces solid financial returns for the state's economic future. Oklahoma Career Tech, elevating our economy.
And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things. And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClendon.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Horizon. Well, when lawmakers return to the state capitol this first full week in February, they will start the second session of the 54th legislature. All the same members as last year and many of the same issues on the table. But for the first time since 2011, revenue growth is down. And did I mention it's an election year? Just a couple of the issues that will make 23rd and Lincoln as interesting as always. Well, the yellow barriers are still up at the state capitol. That's because infrastructure improvements approved last year came to a screeching halt when the state Supreme Court struck down the measure that would have funded them. Something about violating the Constitution by combining two unrelated items, the much-needed repairs at the state capitol with a cut in the state income tax, into a single bill. And while there are still some places here in the Capitol you may want to wear a hard hat, the Supreme Court justices may have done lawmakers a real favor. Revenue collections are down this year, so state lawmakers will have about $170 million less to work with this session. And if last year's tax cut would have remained in place, that funding gap lawmakers now face would have been about $100 million more. And such a financial squeeze would have cast even more dark clouds over the state capitol, further limiting what lawmakers can address this session. Well, state workers have gone without pay raises for going on 8 years now. And when you consider that on average, state workers make about 20% less than those in comparable positions in the private sector, state lawmakers know that such pay discrepancies hurt not just employee morale, but also worker quality.
Just like in any private sector job, what you get, what you pay for is what you get. And right now we are not doing a good job of retaining employees, and we're not doing a good job of hiring the best and the brightest. And what we've got to do is look at, can we maybe even do this with a smaller workforce, but we've got to have an up-to-date compensation system.
Lawmakers like Representative Leslie Osborne are expected to look at both compensation and benefits this session. But if you're a state worker, don't count on getting a bigger check anytime soon. And that's because costs just continue to rise in some key areas. Department of Corrections officials say they will need more than $500 million this year alone to address prison overcrowding and understaffing. Two areas that lawmakers like Senator Rob Standridge say we can no longer ignore.
Isn't legal. The solutions aren't simple, and we heard that throughout testimony, that these lives are complex just like everyone else's. The addictions are complex, where they came from, where they're leading. So I think what we want is really a holistic approach from a state level.
Having resisted efforts to use more alternative sentencing for offenders with lesser crimes, lawmakers now face a dilemma. Paying more and more for incarceration means having less and less flexibility to do what many campaigned on: cutting taxes. But that hasn't stopped a group of Republican lawmakers from the Oklahoma House and State Senate from offering legislation that will lower Oklahoma's individual income tax rate to 4% within 4 years. House Bill 3291 and Senate Bill 1849 would each lower the state's individual income tax rate by a half a point to 4.75% come next January. It would then tick down another quarter of a percentage point for the following 3 years, winding up at 4%. Also up for debate this session is a proposal to make permanent a tax break set to expire next year. Currently, the energy industry receives a 6% reduction in its gross production taxes whenever it uses horizontal oil and gas drilling. Now, put in place in the 1990s, when such practices were experimental and very costly, horizontal drilling is now industry standard and much less risky. And while Governor Fallon has made no indication of whether she will support either proposal, she has said she plans to propose her own tax reduction plan. Now, altogether, members of the Oklahoma House and Senate have filed more than 2,400 bills and resolutions to consider in the 2013 legislature. Now, when Republicans took control of both legislative chambers and the governor's office in 2010, many in that party campaigned on the belief they could get more done because, from a policy perspective, they were from similar mindsets. But as one former Democratic leader told me, there's plenty to disagree on, even if you're in the same party. When we return, we continue our legislative preview with a look at education.
You're watching Oklahoma Horizon, featuring some of the good things that are happening in the great state of Oklahoma.
Well, when it comes to where students go to school, parents could get more choice and the money to back it up if one proposal makes its way into law. Under House Bill 3398, parents of students could set up educational savings accounts using money that normally would be going to their public school. Bill co-author Representative Jason Nelson.
This law will allow them to receive an account where a portion of the money that would have gone to the public school follows them into the account, and they can use that for tutoring, for private school, for virtual school. Any money that's not used can be rolled over and saved for higher education, can be used for different kinds of educational therapies and assistance, and it really allows for a customized education.
Under the legislation, students eligible for free or reduced price lunches would also be eligible to receive 90% of the funding that would normally go to their public school. Now, students and families whose household income is up to 1.5 times that of the federal threshold will be eligible to receive 60%, while those at twice the amount could receive 30%. The bill's co-author, Representative Tom Newell, says this will give low-income families the same choices over their children's education that those with more means can now make.
It is immoral, I believe, for us as a state to trap parents and children into a situation that does not help them. I believe it's also counterproductive to society for us to trap children into a system that does not help them to thrive and become successful later on in their life.
Well, critics of the proposal say public schools cannot afford to lose any more funding. After accounting for inflation and rising student population, state per pupil funding has declined by more than 20% since 2008. Well, probably one of the more interesting proposals this session comes not from a lawmaker, but Oklahoma's Secretary of Education and Workforce. Dr. Robert Summers is proposing that Oklahoma Career Tech move to a performance-based funding model, sort of a money-back guarantee for taxpayers.
By the way, how about a little round of applause for all the young people?
Flanked by industry and student supporters, Education and Workforce Secretary Bob Summers says,
So our vision's simple: a job for every Oklahoman and a workforce for every company.
Summers is advocating for a funding increase for Career Tech that will be tied to each school's performance.
We are designing the amount of money that we send to schools on the basis of what value it is to society. Very precisely, we're actually going to calculate the amount of tax dollars that will be generated by the advancement of the people in the programs. and calculate the expenditures to be 5 years or less in return on investment.
An investment that Summers believes will, in the long run, save the state money.
The state of Oklahoma will spend this $24 million one way or another. It will either spend it on improved education, which results in people becoming makers, which means they pay taxes and they pay back a return on investment, or we'll pay it in sooner care, food stamps, and incarceration because people can't get to wealth-building jobs.
Fred Morgan is the CEO of the State Chamber and says such an approach to education funding is welcomed by business and industry.
It's really a simple concept. We need to educate students for the jobs of today and the jobs that will be created tomorrow. The Career Tech legislative agenda announced today, we believe, is a big step in targeted funding in the right direction, and we support this agenda and the goals set forth therein.
Webco Industries CEO Dana Weber says tying education funding to student performance is an approach that makes good business sense.
Well, from a taxpayer perspective or as a business person, I think that's absolutely an amazing idea. Very creative. I mean, if you think about it, we do it every day. We try things, we make sure it's going to give us a payback on what we're doing, and if it does, we continue the investment. If it doesn't, we stop. It makes sense. We all do it every day. We do it in our personal lives and our business lives. Why not do it with a program like this? I think it's an amazing idea.
Our focus is making sure that every Oklahoman has a job and every company has a workforce, and we know that today we have this huge skills gap. We have lots of high school graduates that don't have the skill sets. We have a lot of adults that want to get work. We have job openings, but the two can't get together. Career Tech's the solution for that, and our agenda pushes better performance, higher quality information, and a new way of doing business in the digital technology world that we think we can extend the taxpayer money a little farther.
And then this would be your
carotid artery.
Good.
Filling a skills gap that will help grow the economy.
And one of the problems with income inequality in the shrinking middle class is because we have people who don't have the educational skills they need to get a good paying job. And I think the Career Tech system offers a solution to that.
The part doesn't have to be loaded, it's clamped down.
Still to come on Oklahoma Horizon. Will e-cigarettes go up in smoke? But first, state funding for storm shelters.
Well, last May, families in Moore were forever changed when a massive tornado struck 2 elementary schools, killing 7 innocent children and injuring dozens more. Just over 500,000 children, roughly 2/3 of Oklahoma's student population, attend a school without a FEMA-approved storm shelter. Now, if passed, House Joint Resolution 1078 would put before voters the question of whether or not the state would issue a $500 million state bond to fund the construction of school storm shelters and provide for enhanced school security for public schools and career tech centers.
It allows for complete local control. It just simply provides additional funding from the state resources to allow these schools to have better opportunities to build adequate shelters. Currently, school districts have to fund the shelter space completely out of their local dollars, which means an increase in property taxes for those individuals that live in that school district. This will provide a 75-25 match to allow the state to cover the bulk of the cost with those storm shelters and keep the local property taxes low.
And a SoonerPoll.com survey says more than 87% of respondents support requiring primary schools to have a specifically designed storm shelter. Well, according to the Oklahoma State Department of Health, Oklahoma ranks 39th in the nation for adult smoking, compared to 47th in the nation just 1 year ago. A drop that shows the percentage of adult smokers in the state decreasing from 26 to 23%. Good news that some believe can be attributed to electronic cigarettes. Joining me now is our Andy Barth.
Well, Rob, e-cigarettes were made popular in China and were introduced to the U.S. in 2006. And while some worry about the long-term effects, many smokers are turning to these tobacco-free devices to help curb an addictive habit.
Forget the heat and offensive odor. Electronic cigarettes are a booming trend that the manager of Vapor Kings, Joseph Richardson, says could be the end of the pack-a-day habit.
I think people want to stop smoking or, find an alternative.
which couldn't be truer for Rhonda Hogsett.
I have been diagnosed with cancer, and I've been a smoker for approximately 10 years. Just really started beginning to do the vapor.
A new habit Hogsett plans to kick with time.
My end goal is just going to be to wean myself off of it.
And for her sister, Deanna Thomas, she too switched to e-cigarettes for health reasons.
I have emphysema, for one, and my husband recorded me breathing one night, and when I heard it the next day, it kind of freaked me out.
And after only days of using the e-cigarette, Thomas says her breathing improved. Yet she still shares her sister's final goal.
I'm still getting the nicotine, but we're cutting down. I haven't smoked in 2.5 weeks. I haven't killed anybody.
Currently, the FDA doesn't regulate e-cigarettes and puts them in the same category of regular cigarettes. But Richardson says there are benefits to inhaling the vapor.
There's quite a few chemicals in a cigarette that we know is present in a cigarette that you don't want to inhale. And I think that all those things are driving the sales, driving the need to switch over.
Yet despite the overwhelming rise in e-cigarette popularity, health concerns still linger, which is why Oklahoma lawmakers held an interim study to learn more about the product.
The first and foremost, don't ever smoke.
Representative David Derby co-chaired the interim study and says there could be a positive side to e-cigarettes.
If you are a smoker and want to do something different to your lifestyle and actually wean yourself down, then you have an opportunity to do that.
Yet regardless of the potential benefits, Dr. Joel Nitskin says age restrictions should apply to e-cigarettes, just as they do to traditional cigarettes.
Over the years, the same age restrictions should be across all nicotine delivery products,
which is something Richardson is in favor of.
At Vapor Kings, we have a policy of not selling to anyone under 18, and we card anybody that looks remotely 18.
And for Thomas, inhaling the vapor is healthier than tobacco.
It can't hurt. I mean, it's got to be better for you than all the tars, all the crud that goes into your lungs.
I think it's important for people to create a disconnect between this and smoking. In almost every aspect other than having nicotine in it, it is not like a cigarette.
Now there are 5 ingredients in an e-cigarette. Propylene glycol, which is used as a food preservative. The second is vegetable glycerin, used in pharmaceutical formulations. The third is U.S. food-grade flavoring. The fourth is distilled water, and of course there's nicotine. And while the actual devices are not FDA regulated, each of the ingredients is.
So Andy, while it appears that there could be some health benefits, what other reasons would someone want to switch to an e-cigarette?
Well, Rob, proponents of e-cigarettes say aside from the absence of tobacco and other carcinogens, e-cigarettes are more cost-effective than traditional cigarettes. Now, consider this. The average cost of a pack of cigarettes in the U.S. is around $6. Now, if a smoker goes through a pack a day, the annual cost is about $2,100. Now, in comparison, if that same smoker switches to e-cigarettes for 1 year, they would only pay $846.
So are e-cigarettes, are they allowed in non-smoking areas?
Well, Rob, Governor Fallin banned the use of any nicotine product on state property, and Oklahoma State University prohibits them as well. Now, the University of Oklahoma allows them on campus as long as they're used outdoors. And other than that, it really depends on the establishment that you're in.
All right, will be interesting what the legislature decides. Thank you so much, Andy.
You're welcome, Rob.
Want to share something you've seen here today? Well, all of our episodes are streaming on our YouTube channel at Oklahoma Horizon TV. Or you can subscribe to our weekly free podcasts on iTunes.
Well, pasteurization is a process that heats milk to a specific temperature for a set period of time. First developed by Louis Pasteur in 1864, pasteurization kills harmful organisms responsible for diseases like listeria, salmonella, typhoid fever, and diphtheria. But a recent movement is growing to go back to a more organic time of consuming raw milk straight from the cow. Joining me now is our Lisa Hines.
That's right, Rob. Many Oklahomans are choosing raw milk over store-bought pasteurized milk because they believe it keeps their families disease-free. But currently in Oklahoma, to buy raw milk, you have to drive to a farm, which can be several miles away. And many would like instead the convenience of having delivered right to your front door.
Milk. It does a body good. But there's a fight fermenting at the state capitol over the alabaster liquid. Representative Ken Walker is leading the way to change the current law regarding how raw milk is sold in Oklahoma.
There's a huge consumer base for raw milk, and the people want to have raw milk delivered to them. Some people do. Other people like the aspect of going to the farm. And there's some people who can't readily get out of their house. And so we were looking at three aspects today, and that was delivery from the farm to the consumer, herd shares, which basically would make you an owner of the cow, and the transactions would be between owners, and thirdly, advertising of raw milk.
Edmond naturopathic doctor Michelle Menzel recommends raw milk to all her patients.
I love raw milk, and in fact I think that it is safer than pasteurized milk because it still has all of the antibodies intact in the milk that actually protects the body from pathogens and assists the body in getting rid of things that the body doesn't need. So there's that protectant that is lost in the pasteurization process of commercial milk that you buy in the grocery store.
Joanna Francisco is a mom and believes in the benefits of giving her children raw milk.
We started to find resources out there. We found a dairy.
We have not had an illness in our family. We haven't been to the doctor in 7 years or more, and everybody's just. We have 4 children who've been raised on this basically, and they're just very healthy.
Yet some, like the State Department of Health's Mark Newman, advise prudence when consuming raw milk.
I think our concerns at the health department are that unpasteurized milk poses 150 times greater risk than pasteurized milk, and that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, has documented over 1,500 cases of foodborne illness from people from consuming unpasteurized milk or unpasteurized milk products between 1993 and 2006. And we just know from the experience that other states have had, which have relaxed their laws on raw milk and raw milk products, that you're going to see an increased incidence of foodborne illness from the consumption of raw milk.
According to Blaine Arthur from the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food and Forestry, they just want to be sure that the public is aware of the raw milk issues.
We want to make certain that for any consumers who are making the decision to purchase raw milk for themselves, for their family, that they're just very aware of the product that they're purchasing. Raw milk obviously is not pasteurized. There might be some potential concerns with raw milk as opposed to pasteurized milk, and we want to make sure if consumers are making that choice that they have been to the facility. Currently, raw milk, you can purchase raw milk from the farm currently. It can't be delivered. And a big reason for that is so that you as a consumer have been to that facility, met those producers, and know the product that you're buying.
So while you still have to go to the farm to buy raw milk, it will be up to Oklahoma lawmakers whether or not it can be delivered to your door.
Concerned about health and safety and that.
Now, while this does seem to be about consumer convenience, it's also about the ability to advertise the product.
How so?
Well, currently, as the law stands, you cannot advertise your product. So if you're going to find out about it, it has to be by word of mouth, or the farmer can put a sign at the end of their driveway, but you have to drive by it to see it. So if they can advertise the product, they can get more people to buy the milk, and then that'll make it a little bit better in the long run to be able to deliver it if they're allowed.
So what exactly is the opposition to the advertising?
Well, as Mark Newman says, it's more about truth in advertising. What you see on the internet may look beautiful and perfect, but what you get may not be the best thing. And as Blaine Arthur also has a good point, many of the people are removed from the farm by several generations. So if they have to go to the farm, then they get to meet their farmer, they get to see how clean the place is, and they get to see how their milk is produced.
Yeah, well, certainly valid points on both sides of the issue. It will be an interesting debate down at the legislature. Thanks so much, Elisa.
You're welcome, Rob.
You can keep up with us throughout the week. Just head to okhorizon.com, where you can see more of any of our stories, read our reporters behind the scenes blogs, see what others are saying about us on Twitter, and face the facts with our regular updates. So reach out and touch us anywhere and anytime.
We've all heard about the shrinking middle class. Next time on Oklahoma Horizon, we'll look at some possible solutions to what's been a persistent problem.
Those technical jobs have been the bulwark of the middle class and have created the American strength we enjoy today. There is no path to prosperity without having an enabled middle class.
Recapturing the American dream on Oklahoma Show for the Heartland, Oklahoma Horizon. Well, we are out of time. I'm Rob McClendon. Thanks for watching. See you back here next week.
Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things. Thank you for watching Oklahoma Horizon.